Hey guys, it's Cameos for the season premiere of the Vampire Diaries, Season 7, Episode 1, Day 1 of 22,000, give or take. Now, honestly, this was, a lot of the CW shows, I was really looking forward to it, or I wasn't. Like, Arrow, I was really looking forward to it. This was the one that I honestly didn't know what to think. I really didn't, and it's understandable, because of course, Elena is no longer on this show. Tyler left this show, and they ended it such a great way last season. I was definitely looking forward to this season. I never expected this season to be anything good. I never did. And, I really didn't know how this was going to be, and I kind of just went in this episode with an open mind, but I have to say, this was such a surprising premiere. I mean, this premiere was great. I really love this premiere. I don't think it was amazing. I don't think it was perfect, but I definitely feel they're going in a very good direction. And there were definitely a lot of things that I really love about this premiere. Limiting the cast actually makes for a much more entertaining show, I think, and a much less convoluted show. And honestly, if they keep up the momentum of this episode, this has the potential to be a really great season of the Vampire Diaries, and I'm definitely looking forward to it. But let's get into this episode. I overall really enjoyed it, and there's a lot to talk about. So we actually start in the future. As we know, we left off in the finale with a time jump 3 years into the future. And Stefan is hurt, and basically we see that Damon looks like he's dead, basically. But Stefan luckily does feed him blood to wake him up, and we don't know why this is going on, but that right away intrigues us. We don't know why this has happened, and I really love that opening, because right away it was very intriguing. And then we see, now this I really like. The show, of course, is called The Vampire Diaries, and the essential, plot was Elena writing these diaries. So who's going to do it now? Caroline is now going to write the diaries. She's writing down everything in the diary for Elena when she wakes up, because, they're assuming she's going to wake up eventually. And she basically decides to not just catch Elena, but also catch us up on what's been going on since Elena went into her coma. She tells Elena that Damon and Alaric are on a guy's getaway with Bonnie, who's in the chaperone, and Matt is going to become deputy, and Caroline's mom has her own town bench, basically, and she writes that she doesn't think she can heal and move on anytime soon, just because, and that's understandable. I mean, obviously, it was a very hard loss. She didn't really know, what to do about it, and I just really like that overall, because it gets us right into this episode and shows us, okay, this is where we are, this is what's going on, and I definitely really like that. So Stefan approaches Caroline, and she obviously seems kind of surprised. You can tell there's been this tension between them pretty much for quite a few episodes now. Last season, and especially this season, you don't really know what's going to happen between them. Stefan's going to check on some missing blood bags, and things are a bit awkward, and Stefan sits down to address the weirdness, and Caroline stumbles on her words in the midst of she was trying to fill the awkward silence with conversation about Damon, and Stefan says until she heals, they can be friends, and she agrees. Which I like that they agreed to that, because she's still grieving over her mom. She still, is trying to get over that, and Stefan can tell that, and he doesn't want to rush things, and I like that he doesn't want to rush things, because obviously it's not good for either of them, and I thought that was very smart that they decided to do that. So someone else is writing a diary, and then we get introduced to one of the heretics. Now, this was where this started to kind of feel like a spin-off. This entire episode kind of felt like a spin-off, which I definitely really liked, and the Heretics, I have to say, I didn't expect them to be as entertaining as they were. Probably some of the most entertaining villains we've seen on this show. I mean, the Heretics are awesome. I really love the Heretics, definitely. And it very much reminded me of the originals, which is it back after this episode, which I can't wait for, and that will be my next review. But it was really cool to see these new characters. They're actually not really loving the new world, though. The heretic named Valerie is hit by two teens in a car who leave her in the middle of the road, and it's all good because she does wake up and continue to vent about how much she hates her situation, which I thought was pretty funny, the way she's just complaining about it. The rest of the heretics are having tea and don't like that they're being limited to a certain amount of blood a day. It's not working for them. And it's really starting to piss them off. So Bonnie is also writing in a diary while she, Alaric, and Damon are in Amsterdam, and Damon keeps joking about Bonnie dying so he can see Elena again, because obviously his main concern is for Elena to be alive. He obviously wants Elena to live. He's joking with Bonnie that he wishes that she was alive, and Damon is using Alaric as a way to escape from his misery, and That makes sense. Obviously, him and Alaric have always been best friends, and it makes sense why Damon is using him that way. And Alaric tells him that he's glad to have him there, and you can tell that this was something that Alaric arranged. But Alaric, as well, is also dealing with a lot of things. Alaric is starting to become a bit of an alcoholic. They both are started becoming a bit of alcoholics, and you can definitely tell how, because, Alaric also suffered the death of Joe. He was going to marry Joe, and I believe he did marry her, if I remember correctly, in the penultimate episode. It was a while ago, but I think he did. He was about to marry her, of course, and then she died, and he's getting over that as well. And I really like the bonding between these two, definitely. But you can tell that Damon is just not really dealing with it that well. He's making jokes. He's basically kind of just hiding it, and definitely, it's very realistic seeing the way they handled it. I definitely really like that. So Lily's leaving the Heretics to visit Enzo in New York, who did not feel out of place in this episode, thank God. I think one of the things that works so well with limiting this cast is they gave some of the smaller cast members a lot more to do, like Matt and Enzo, who felt very out of place last season and really was hard to figure out what they were exactly trying to do with them. And now that Tyler's gone and Elena's gone, Enzo and Matt definitely feel a lot more natural on the show. It doesn't feel like they're just another cast member that they're trying to figure out what to do with. And that's something I definitely really enjoyed. So basically, they're not happy about not being able to explore the world, and Valerie walks in and complains about being hit by the teens and left for dead. And at first, she's mocked by Nora and Mary Louise, who is a lesbian couple, which I thought was pretty cool. We haven't seen a lesbian couple on this show, so I think it was pretty cool that they did that. But they understand how she feels after Lily is trying to calm Valerie down by telling her how proud she is that she resisted the urge to kill, because she doesn't want her to kill. And you can tell that they're trying to make this sort of like a calmer environment, it seems. And however, Valerie, Nora, and Mary Louise set out for revenge and unleash an attack on the teens, and they use powers and super vampire abilities to kill the teens, hang them upside down, and they loved it. And basically, they already did some terrible things to them, and I definitely like seeing Lily actually deciding not to do something. You think she has this evil plan, but it seems like at this point she doesn't, and I definitely thought that was interesting. So Stefan and Matt stumble upon the bodies and calls Damon to let him know that Lily's heretics might be up to something, and Stefan asks Alaric to teach him how to make a bomb, and Alaric leaves the public setting. And I do have to tell you guys, at this point in the episode, it did feel like something is missing. It definitely felt like, Elena's presence was definitely missed, and it did feel a little strange, but I was really enjoying it at this point, definitely. Especially, I'd say, when we get to a certain scene, which I'll get into, but basically, Bonnie and Damon, and plus, since Elena, is in a coma, she's still a part of the show. Like, they've talked about, even though Elena's, in this coma, she's still a part of the show because of that. So it gives her a way to still be a part of the show while not actually being on. Because Nina Dobrev said she's never going to return, probably. So I like how they are going to reference her a lot, which I do like. Because obviously, that'd feel weird if they didn't. So Bonnie and Damon are sitting down to have a chat while Alaric leaves, and she tells Damon he needs to live his life, but he tells her she doesn't get to play the What Would Elena Do game. And that's true. I mean, he should be able to control his own life. Bonnie should not be telling him what to do, and I really do agree with that. So Alaric is seeking to connect with Joe through a strange red stone and a fake wedding ring, and Alaric then sets the psychic to expose him and then used his anger to beat him up, unleashing his built-up aggression, which was pretty crazy just seeing Alaric having this aggression. But again, it's because of him not coming to terms with her death. He's definitely not taking it as seriously as he should, and I definitely really like seeing that. Just this rage that he has kind of came out of nowhere, and I really like that. So Lily meets up with Enzo, who seems to be enjoying his time away, and Lily says she's trying to teach the heretics how to behave, and Enzo, living in Mystic Falls freely, would be a bad influence, and basically, it's just not a good idea to do that. And I like how like I said, she's trying to get the heretics to play fair, and she's trying to get them to set a good example for the world and not cause all this destruction. And how she's trying to, Enzo living there, it's just not a good idea. So, meanwhile, Lily seems to be looking for the stone that Alaric has. However, when Enzo asks what the stone does, she is reluctant to tell him, and she just tells him that he could be in danger if anyone found out he was looking for the stone. So, Enzo's offended that she didn't trust him and tells her to find her own rock, and he obviously is really upset because he really trusted her. He thought that he had, that she had his back, and she clearly didn't. So, Caroline and Stefan are setting up the bomb so that she can deliver as a welcoming present to the heretics, and the two continue to have awkward moments, and it seems as if she might be warming up to the idea of them being together. Throughout this episode, you definitely see more bonding between Stefan and Caroline, and she barges into the heretic house, filled house, to be a distraction, and basically she plans on distracting the heretics, because obviously they don't want to make them look suspicious. And the scene where Caroline comes in and they're trashing her jacket and things like that, I thought was very funny. Matt basically gets the job done, but Caroline's in a bit of trouble when the heretics demand her jacket and refuse her to leave before she gives it up, and Caroline managed to get her and Matt out of the house before the bomb explodes, and luckily they're okay. So, in Amsterdam, Bonnie and Damon are looking for Alaric because they don't know where he went, and when Bonnie stops to ask Damon what the plan is, he saves her from a truck that was coming down the road. They get a little close, and there's a strange look between the two of them, and she basically realizes that he essentially hesitated to save her life, which she doesn't appreciate him resenting her because she's alive and Elena isn't, and I don't think that's exactly what's going on. I think it's just Damon is really holding in how he truly feels about this whole Elena situation. He's not acting the way he should, and that's understandable for Damon. Damon's always kind of had this personality where he does get sad, but he doesn't really show his emotions, and I definitely really like seeing that episode. I thought it was definitely very interesting the way they did that, the way they showed that here, and basically, they get a little close, and she realizes that he hesitated to save her life, and she tells him that he's stuck with her, and he could either resent her or love her, which is true. You know, he has two choices, and basically, he needs, she's alive, he needs to deal with that, and if she dies, but he needs to not resent her for it. And I don't think it's that he's resenting her, I think you can tell he misses Elena. Obviously, he wants to be with Elena, he really wanted to be with her, he wishes she was alive, and unfortunately, she's not, and he's kind of stuck with her. So, I think he truly does care about Bonnie, but he's just kind of stuck with her right now. So Stefan calls Lily to tell her that they bombed the house and killed the heretics. Instead of being worried, Lily offers some otherly advice and basically tells Stefan to run, because she knows how dangerous these heretics are and what they're going to do, and she knows that they're definitely not dead. Because Mary Louise and Nora are overlooking Matt's deposition ceremony, and it looks like they are, a lesbian couple, and we find out in the scene that they are a lesbian couple, and it's actually a really nice scene. Mary Louise is nervous about holding hands in public, but Nora tells her that these times are different, and I really like that scene. Of course, they came from a different time period, so they're not used to acclimating to the real world, and it's not really something that I think we've seen a lot on this show, but it's something that I thought was really cool that they did. Just seeing these characters that clearly have not been in the modern world acclimate to modern times. I definitely like that. So she tells them that they all need to get on with seeking revenge. They begin reciting a spell, and Stefan arrives to tell Caroline that they may have a problem. The three heretics set the entire ceremony on fire, and Malcolm and Bo join in to wreak havoc. By the way, Bo is mute, which I thought was interesting as well. I like they did that. Basically, as they continually feed on the innocent, Caroline's attacked by Nora, Stefan is attacked by Bo, but Lily shows up just in time to stop further destruction, and she gives them all a speech about finding a way for them to coexist in the world, and tells everyone that the bloodshed ends now. She doesn't want this war between the heretics and the vampires. She wants this to be a world where everyone can live in harmony, and my thing with this, though, is that I really do feel that Lily has some bigger plan. It's just something we're not seeing yet. She clearly has some sort of vendetta. Obviously, she wants this stone, and if she really wanted this to be a peaceful world, I don't think she'd want that stone as much. I don't think that stone is going to be something that makes this world any more peaceful than it is. So Matt looks around and sees Tara on what's supposed to be a happy day, and Stefan and Caroline look around with worry on their face. They return to the mansion. Caroline's freaking out, telling Stefan that everyone is dead, but he's fidgeting with a splinter in his neck, and Caroline gives him a little help and says that Lily is insane, and if she thinks she can control all 5 heretics, Caroline, Stefan, and Matt, if she thinks she can control all 5 heretics, which is true. I mean, these are 5 different heretics who have 5 different personalities, and she really can't control them. I definitely do agree with Caroline that she thinks she can control them, and she really can't. And that's just why I feel Lily has some bigger plan that we're just not seeing yet. And I don't know what it is, but definitely she has some sort of plan here. So Heretics, Caroline, Stefan, and Matt are continuing to tell Elena's story of how they evacuate all the residents from Mystic Falls and form a truce with Lily, and Stefan basically gave Lily the Salvatore mansion, and he, Caroline, and Matt have to coexist with the Heretics, and we're starting to find out really what's going on here, because obviously we haven't seen this before. We don't really know what's fully going on here, and I like that we got some exposition here because we needed some exposition. It's been a while since we saw what happened, and basically, Stefan gave Lily the Salvatore mansion. He, Caroline, and Matt have to coexist with the Heretics, and basically they're stuck here because that's the deal that they made, and they can't get out of it. So I like that we found that out. It's much needed exposition, and it's very quick, and that's something I like, that the episode wasn't filled with just tons and tons of exposition, which is what I thought this episode was going to be, and I was happy that it wasn't, because we need to get things moving. We really do. We need to get back into a story, and I thought that was definitely well done. So Caroline walks over to Enzo, who says he's trying to save her his mother's breath, and Caroline tells Enzo to pick a side and also says that she doesn't trust him. And I can understand that because on one hand, he's supposed to be working with them, but then he has this bond with Lily, which I do understand. He's always considered Lily, a family friend. He's always considered that, and they'll probably always be as tight as they are. And Stefan's at the bar having a beer, and Damon calls. Damon asks if there's anything he needs to know about it, and Stefan says it can wait until he gets back. Little do you know, Damon has now returned outside the door, and he announced himself and asked Stefan if he wants to tell him who's living in their house, and Damon is not happy with Stefan's deal with Lily, but Stefan tells him not to mess it up, that he really has no choice but to do this, and Damon blames the decision on Caroline. He thinks that he is just doing this for Caroline, and I really love the scene between Stefan and Damon. I mean, now that Elena's gone, Stefan and Damon are basically the main characters of the show, and their relationship, their bond, is probably the most integral part of the show now, and I definitely really love that. It very much is like Klaus and Elijah on the originals. While not as strong as that, which I can't wait for, and that, like I said, will be my next review, while not as strong as that, is still a very interesting relationship. Because Damon blames the decision on Caroline. It causes Stefan to bring up Elena and ask Damon if she woke up and everyone she cared about was dead, would be something she wanted. And Stefan says he's doing it for Damon. He's not doing it for Caroline. He's doing it because Damon would want that, and he knows that, when Elena comes back, she's going to want, because Elena told Damon, if you remember, she wants him to live, she wants him to move on, and she just wants things to be great when she comes back. She doesn't want this demolished world, so they have to do whatever they can to make this the best world possible for her if she does come back. Because, they don't know if she's going to come back or not. So Bonnie meets with Matt, who's happy to see her. He fills her in on what's going on and sets out a patrol to desolate and abandoned Mystic Falls. And Damon's watching over the town. He has no choice but to settle in Whitmore. And he is in Elena's old dorm, and Bonnie walks in on him, and we get what I think was the best scene in this episode. Like I said, this was feeling a bit strange. Just because, Elena's not there, and it's feeling like there's something missing, but this really was the scene where I think they won me over, was the scene where I'm like, you know what, this is really powerful stuff, I'm really enjoying what we're seeing, and it was definitely this scene between Damon and Bonnie that I personally really loved, and if we're gonna get more scenes like this, I'm definitely really gonna love Season 7. Because basically, he's in Elena's old dorm room. Bonnie walks in on him, and he tells Bonnie he has nowhere to go, and she brings up the fact that he hesitated to save her, and he admits that in the 3 seconds, the first second he thought about Elena, and how great it would be to be with her again, then the second he thought about kissing her, and then he remembered that Bonnie is his best friend, and he would lose his mind without her. And either way, he's kind of in probably the toughest road out of everyone, because his best friend is alive, but the love of his life is dead, and, is in this coma, and if she dies, then the love of his life comes back, but he would still be crushed over her. Either way, whatever happens to Damon Salvatore, he's going to be a very broken soul. I mean, that's pretty obvious that's going to happen to him, and they both agree on the fact that they want to take the town back, and Bonnie says that she wants to fight, she does not want to let this happen, and she's not okay with this, and I like that they actually want to take action. While Stefan essentially made this deal and can't really change anything, I like that they actually want to do something. They want to fight. They're not going to take no for an answer, and they're going to do something about this because they think this is stupid that they have to do this. And Bonnie then catches Malcolm devouring an innocent victim, tries to use her power to stop him, but it backfires. He begins to attack Bonnie, but Damon's there to rip his heart out, and they've now killed Malcolm. We've already have a heretic killed, and this I was a bit upset about, because my only thing with this is that I don't want all these heretics to die very quickly. I know Lily's probably going to be the last one standing, I get that, and I get that I'm thinking all the heretics are going to die in this half of the season, and the second half it's going to be strictly focused on Lily. I understand that, because she definitely has a bigger plan that we're not seeing yet. But I don't want them to kill all the heretics at once. I mean, I like them overall, I like their personalities, and I want to see more of them. I don't want them to all be killed very quickly. That's something that Vampire Diaries tends to do, and I hope they don't do that here. So Stefan and Caroline are back at her house, and she asks if they're making a mistake with the truce. She just doesn't know if they did something wrong. And I'm just thinking, there's nothing he can really do about it. Stefan asks what her mother would do, and when Caroline thinks about it, she realizes that they aren't. They did make a good idea here, and Caroline tells Stefan that she thought she could move on, but she will always miss Liz, no matter what happens. And Stefan gives her some pretty heartfelt advice and leaves to board up the doors. I thought it was pretty good advice what he says to her. And before he goes, Caroline tells him that he makes her happy when she's with him, and they now kiss, and basically, Stefan and Caroline are now together. I get that this is a bit rushed, but again, this is supposed to be a time jump, and I thought they handled that very well, and I definitely really like seeing that. Definitely, I thought that was very well done. Just seeing them together now, I think we've built up to this point enough. We've gotten all that drama out of the way, and I think a lot of that drama was pretty silly. I mean, I understand that we needed it, but it just felt kind of pointless at points, and I'm happy that now we can now have Stefan and Caroline, and we don't have to worry about the will they or won't they, because now they're together, and I'm happy about that. So Alaric visits the coroner, and this was really interesting. He asked to see Joe, and he basically wants to bring her back to life. He's going to try to bring Joe back to life, and he asks once more to see her, and the coroner takes him to a freezer, and we don't know if this guy can be trusted or not. I'm going to say right now, I don't think Alaric should trust this guy, and I know Alaric is set on getting Joe, and probably his mindset is not the best right now. His intelligence is definitely not the best, because his main goal is obviously to see Joe. He obviously wants to save Joe. He doesn't care that it might put him at risk. He doesn't even care that he might die. As long as Joe's alive, that's what he cares about. And, he's drinking a lot. I mean, he's definitely not in the best of spirits, and he's not really thinking about what he's doing, which I think is really interesting. So, at the Salvatore mansion, the girls bring Malcolm home to Lily, who is completely distraught when she sees him dead, and she asks who took him from them, and the Heretics look around with revenge on their faces, and I really feel this is going to change Lily, and Lily's going to think, okay, we cannot do this anymore, we cannot live in this peaceful world. Even though Lily's going to try, I definitely feel she's going to have some sort of revenge plan, because obviously they just ruined what she wanted to do, and she's definitely not going to let them do that. I know she's definitely not going to let that happen, and I definitely thought that was a very great scene. So Caroline's trying to write in her diary, but she was interrupted by Enzo, who tells her, she tries to tell Elena that things are going good, it's not perfect, but Enzo says that someone killed Malcolm, and Enzo then says that he chooses Lily's side, drugs Caroline, and that was insane what happened. When he just drugged Caroline like that, I don't know what's going to happen there, but the episode then goes back into present day, and basically we see that Damon's awake, and he asks if they're still hunting them, and basically someone is hunting Stefan and Damon. I'm predicting it's Lily, I don't know, but that's what it seems like is going on, and that's basically how this episode ends. So overall, I was actually very impressed by this premiere. I didn't think it was going to be as good as it was, but it was actually really good. Now, is it the originals? No, it's not the originals. And it's not the first few seasons of Vampire Diaries, but I will say something I definitely do appreciate is that this is not a convoluted season. They're much more focused with what they want to focus on. The problem last year is that they had like 5 storylines in one episode, and they crammed so much into an episode, it got very overwhelming and very just kind of like exhausting, honestly. That's why I wasn't as into last season, because there were so many storylines going on at once, and this season it seems we'll only really have 2. We have this Heretic storyline, and then we have, which is tied with Enzo and all the characters, and then of course we have Damon and Alaric getting over Joe and Elena, so I definitely like seeing that, and I definitely thought there was some really great stuff in this episode. Now, Lily, like I said, she has a plan. I don't know what it is yet, but Lily definitely has a bigger plan that we're not seeing, and I don't know when we're gonna see it, but I definitely feel there's something more she has planned than simply just letting these heretics and the humans live in peace. I mean, and letting the heretics and the vampires live in peace. There's definitely more to it. I don't know what it is yet, but there definitely is something more going on there, and we'll have to see really what happens there. I definitely don't know what's going to happen there. We'll have to see what that's going to be about. Now, drugging Caroline, I don't know what Alaric plans, what Enzo plans to do with Caroline, but clearly there's something that he plans to do with this. Obviously, he drugged her for a reason, so we'll have to see what happens with that. Now let's talk about Alaric in this coroner. I don't trust this guy whatsoever, but like I said, Alaric is not, his mindset is not in the best place right now. He is not thinking logically about this. He's thinking that, oh, I get to save, Joe. I get to see Joe again. He's not thinking that maybe this guy is crazy and not actually telling him the truth. He's not thinking about that and how shady this guy could be. He's thinking just, I want to save Joe. And I understand that, but there's, logic here, please. Just logic. Come on. This guy cannot be trusted. I don't trust him one bit, and especially on a show like The Vampire Diaries, you really can't, and especially in a world where you have all these heretics, you definitely cannot trust them. Are the heretics getting revenge? They will definitely be getting revenge. I really like the characters we're introduced to right now, especially Valerie and Mary Louise. They seem very intent on getting revenge. Like, they really want revenge. They want to do whatever they can to get revenge on the vampires, and they're going to make sure it happens at any cost, it seems. It really seems like they are very intent on getting their revenge the uh on the vampires, which I'm definitely interested in seeing what happens with that. Damon and Elena, obviously, he has a very complicated relationship with Bonnie right now, because while he really does, love her as a friend, and she is his best friend, the love of his life is in a coma, and it's obviously very complicated for him, so I definitely think we're going to be dealing with this throughout a lot of the season. I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to be. It really does seem like they are setting this up to be the last season. I don't know where they can go after this season. I really feel this needs to be the last season, but I do feel we're going in a very good direction. I like how Stefan and Damon are basically the main focus, as well as Caroline. Caroline definitely is a big focus. Caroline and Stefan getting together, okay, I'm fine with it. I'm happy that they're together. You guys happy? I think we've waited long enough. I wasn't exactly pro Caroline or anti-Caroline last season. Like I've said, I like what the show tells me to like. That's just how it is with this show, because I think this show is good enough that what they tell me to ship, I'll ship it. That's just how I am with the show. Let me know what you guys thought of this premiere. I thought this was a really great premiere overall. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't the best episode of The Vampire Diaries ever. Maybe not the most compelling hour we've had of this show, but I think it definitely was a lot better than I thought it was going to be, and I think this has the potential to be a very good season of Vampire Diaries. But that's basically my review. Hope you all enjoyed it, and we'll see you guys in the next video, which I am hyped out of my mind for, because it will be for the season premiere of the originals, which, guys, as much as I was looking forward to this, I'm looking forward to the originals so much more. I can't wait to watch it, and I will see you guys for that. Okay, bye.